Good morning, everybody. Wakey, wakey. It's time for Morning Glory. My name is MC Kalia, and I'll be your captain for the next 1 hour, 30 minutes. Let's have this conversation going. Good morning, everybody. Wakey, wakey. It's time for Morning Glory. My name is MC Kalia, and I'll be your captain for the next 1 hour, 30 minutes. Let's have this conversation going. Good morning, everybody. Wakey, wakey. It's time for Morning Glory. My name is MC Kalia, and I'll be your captain for the next 1 hour, 30 minutes. Let's have this conversation going.
Tophill Hospital, a brain and spine specialty hospital dedicated to providing extraordinary care through competent doctors and other medical personnel from premium institutes with knowledge on the latest and exceptional medical technologies. With a capacity of over 70 operational ward beds, over 30 specialists and consulting doctors, Tophill Hospital is a modern level 5 facility equipped with 12 state-of-the-art ICU HDU beds and 2 modern HEPA-filtered theaters with laminar airflow. Our aim is to provide comprehensive quality services at an affordable cost to the community, which includes but not limited to neurosurgery, radiology and diagnostics, MRI, CT scan, X-ray, ultrasound, endoscopy, ECG, EEG, pediatric cardiology, physiotherapy, orthopedics and trauma, pharmacy, laboratory, theater, ICU and HDU, obstetrics and gynecology, general surgery, maternity, psychology, psychiatry, comprehensive wellness checkup, dialysis and urology, oncology, dental care, ENT surgery, nutrition and dietetics. For ease of movement and transfer of patients, the hospital has 2 modern critical care ambulances equipped with ICU facilities and available 24 hours. Tophill Hospital is located in a serene environment away from noise and has a cafeteria with fresh, nutritious foods, not forgetting ample parking for all clients. Tophill Hospital is NHIF accredited and accepts medical covers from a number of insurance companies. If you're looking for the best customer care and patient experience and to be attended within the minimum waiting time possible, reach us through the website www.tophillhospital.com or call 0782 121214, or you can also call 0782 900090. You can also email us through info@tophillhospital.com. Tophill Hospital, exceptional technology, extraordinary care.
Good morning to you. It is the third day of May 2023. My name is MC Kalia and this is the Morning Glory Show. We are the most comprehensive talk show online today. Now, this particular morning, being a Wednesday, it is a healthy, wealthy, wise Wednesday. And with me in studio is Antony Osinda, a nutritionist from Tophill Hospital, to help us understand the relationship, or rather explore the link between diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and nutrition. And actually the title today will be food as medicine, because we're just trying to look at how you can actually manage food and at the end of it all manage to live a healthy life. But then before we come to Antony Osinda, allow me to remind you that we are coming live from Dawi Afrique Photography. Dawi Afrique Photography is a studio. It is a production house based in Eldoret, Zion Mall, and we are here to make sure that you get well documented work. So anytime you have anything that requires video or photo production, consider working with Dawi Afrique Photography. We promise a good experience in front of the camera and also some awesome well documented work. If you need to dress for a particular occasion and you need to do so to be addressed, then consider working with D-Square Fashion House. D-Square Fashion House is situated at the 4th floor of Ketia's building in Eldoret. Now, D-Square also now have a school. So if you want to take up fashion as a career, you want to learn how to design stuff, walk into D-Square School of Fashion Design and Tailoring, and you have a good opportunity to learn from the best. So this particular morning, I'm just reminding you that you need to dress to be addressed. If you need to learn fashion, walk into the 4th floor of Ketia's building. I'm talking about D-Square. Now let me come back to Antony Osinda from Tophill Hospital. And as usual, Tophill Hospital have been a good partner to make sure that we improve your health education. Tophill Hospital is situated in Elgonview, Eldoret, just adjacent to Boma Inn. If you're in Elgonview, or if you are within this region, because we receive patients as far as from neighboring countries, it is a specialty for brain and spine. And so if you need anything, any attention rather, that concerns the spine and the brain, consider Tophill Hospital as the #1 priority. And today we have Antony with us. It's not the first time he's coming in, but then it's been some time. Antony, you've grown. There are followers who don't know you, so I'll ask that you really introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. As you have heard, my name is Antony Osinda and I'm a nutritionist. I'm happy today to be in this platform to share more on nutrition, diabetes and cardiovascular diseases. In this platform, we are going to learn more, to explore more, to walk, to work, because life is much about learning. And today we are going to learn more about nutrition and diabetes. Diabetes is very wide, as we know that. And the current world that we live today, we realize that diabetes is a silent killing disease. And it is upon us to know the science and to have at least a little knowledge about diabetes. Generally, diabetes, it is divided in different types, because we have different types of diabetes. First, we have diabetes mellitus and diabetes insipidus. Normally, they are normally calling it type 1 diabetes or type 2 diabetes. And there are predisposing factors that may lead to diabetes. That is health, one of it, overweight, because overweight is another sign and or symptoms that expose somebody to diabetes. As I mentioned, diabetes type 1 and diabetes type 2. You realize that diabetes type 2 mostly affect those people with excess body weight. You realize that in the body the body is being divided in different categories because we have a standard measurement. We normally use the BMI. You realize that the BMI, it is divided into 3. The first one is normal, the second one is overweight, and the third one is underweight. So for those ones who are overweight, you realize that it affects the intrinsic factors. The intrinsic factors are those things that are happen inside the body. At times you can observe, but the good thing to get the best clinical is to do the clinical measurements, whereby they have to take your blood sugars so that they can know the real status or the level of blood sugar.
So basically, diabetes is the level, or rather, diabetes is a higher level of blood sugar in your blood. Would it be right to say so?
Yeah. As we can define diabetes, it is a metabolic disorder. A metabolic disorder that affects the blood glucose. At times, somebody can say, oh, my blood sugars are low or my blood sugars are high when you are hungry. So those are the factors. When you go to clinical, they have to take your sample, that is blood. They take it in the lab. They measure the level of sugars, that is blood sugar. And that one that shows the category of the diabetes. You realize that when they take the sample, that is a blood sample, there is a range, the normal range. There are normal sugar ranges. The normal blood sugar range between 4 to 7. That is the normal blood sugars. But you realize that at times the blood sugar surpasses the normal margin. Beyond 7, at times it can range between 12 to 15, at times beyond 20. And when it ranges beyond 20, that is a danger state, whereby you realize that the body has a disorder that is a metabolic disorder. And that is another sign shows that you are diabetic. And for you to be classified as a diabetic, they have to do it twice. They take the first sample, then they do another sample like a determiner to show that you are diabetic. And at times you realize that the ranges might go beyond less than 4. That shows that you are hypo, because it is being divided into 2, diabetic, because we have hyper and hypo. Hyper is when it is beyond the normal, that is 7, and hypo is below 4. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. If you just joined us, this is the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise edition of the Morning Glory Show. The Morning Glory Show is the most comprehensive talk show online today. Wednesday always provides a chance for us to improve how much we know about our health. And with us today is Antony Osinda from Tophill Hospital to help us understand the relationship between food and diabetes and also cardiovascular diseases. And if you have any question to ask about this, then this is the opportunity. Of course, if you already joined us, please like the broadcast, share the broadcast, and let's learn. I usually love saying let's engage, learn, and enjoy. At the end of it all, we are here to just make sure that we enjoy life while we are still alive. And on top of that, being a mental awareness month, I would also want to tell you, continue taking care of your mental health. Of course, we'll also bring you other segments within this month to talk about mental health. But this particular morning, I'll give Anthony much of the time to talk about the link between nutrition, diabetes, and cardiovascular diseases. The word cardiovascular keeps running away from my mind. Anyway, and let's talk about this for a minute, Anthony. The link now between if you talked about overweight. So is it that direct that I eat poorly, then I'm overweight, then I am predisposed to diabetes or cardiovascular diseases, or there is a bigger explanation behind it?
Okay, thank you very much. The predisposing factors are many. One, it is through hereditary. Maybe you can get it from one of the family members, maybe along the lineage of grandfather to the father to mother to the sibling. Also, another one can be age, can be a factor. A part of age, you realize that when somebody is growing, you realize that there are metabolic changes in the body, and that one can be also a predisposing factor. And the third one can be a lifestyle, because some people change their mode of feeding, whereby they change from traditional feeding to westernized feeding, whereby they tend to take food that are having high caloric, and that is the one cause of diabetes. Yeah.
So that means that you would say to some extent that diabetes somehow is a lifestyle disease. Would you classify it as one?
Yes, we can classify it like a lifestyle disease, because you realize that the setup, the economical setup, because there are those one who they live in a modernized area, whereby their feeding habit is not the same like those one in rural. You realize maybe somebody taking for breakfast high caloric foods like chips, chapatis, these fries, junky foods. If you compare with those who are living in rural home, in the morning they wake up, they take something like cassava, things that are traditional, something like githeri for breakfast, something like nduma for breakfast, and that is the best for them. Whereby you realize that those people living in rural areas, their susceptibility is very low compared to those ones who are living in urban areas.
And of course, we've talked about diabetes quite largely. The other one is cardiovascular diseases. Let's also relate it to food before we come to talking about now how we should eat, and even you giving us maybe a guideline on how to know which is a high calorie food and which one is low calorie. Let's first of all start by linking also nutrition to cardiovascular diseases.
Okay, before I elevate to cardiovascular, I'll have also to explore more on diabetes, on how it is linked to cardiovascular, the best diet for a diabetic person, or also to classify what to eat for a diabetic person or when to eat for a diabetic person. Because you realize that people fail to manage or to plan on their diet, and that is the main problem that exposes our body system to other metabolic functions that are not good. You realize that for a diabetic person, he need to have a guideline on what to eat, when, and what. For a diabetic person, we always advise to use high fiber diets and low calories and low carbohydrates. And why do a diabetic person have to reduce carbohydrates and use high fiber diets? You realize that the fiber diets and carbohydrates are being divided. Carbohydrates, we have complex carbohydrates and simple carbohydrates. The complex carbohydrates are those ones that take time for the body to break it down into simple molecules. But simple carbohydrates are those ones that whenever you just ingested through oral, you take it into the body, you realize that it takes a short time for it to be broken down into glucose. And that is another sign for diabetics is the elevation of blood sugars. whereby we normally advocate for each and everyone to use the high fiber diet for management of diabetes. Also, today we'll also share the best breakfast for a diabetic, the mid-morning snacks for a diabetic, lunchtime, mid, afternoon, and dinner for a diabetic person. Yeah.
Okay, and of course now we'll be coming to that, but then before we come to that, then can you maybe link it to cardiovascular diseases? Then we come back to now plan the meals for, or rather just get a plan for dieting and how we should be eating.
Okay, thank you very much. As you have mentioned, cardiovascular is very wide, because cardiovascular, it has been divided, because through cardiovascular we have atherosclerosis, that is one of them, we have hypertension, that is another one, and we have myocardial infection, that is another one for cardiovascular, because it is very wide. Yeah.
And how related are these conditions now to how we eat?
Okay, on the basis on how it relates, you realize that atherosclerosis is one of the cardiovascular. And when you mention about atherosclerosis, it is about the body vessels. Atherosclerosis, it is majorly affected by those who are having excess body fats, that is cholesterol in the body. You can observe somebody, the anatomical sign, the posterior or the anterior, you realize that there are body deformations. Other one, they have a belly on the posterior side, and you realize that for you to have a belly, it shows that you have excess cholesterol in the body. And this atherosclerosis, you realize that are the soft fats or soft oils that are being deposited along the vessels. And you realize whenever they are being deposited on your blood vessels, it forms something like a plug. Plug is accumulation of fats components along your vessels. And you realize that when the vessels are being accumulated with some fat components or the cholesterol, the flow of blood is going to be affected, whereby it will definitely affect also the pressure. And when I talk about pressure, then definitely it cascaded us also to hypertension. And hypertension is the majorly affected, whereby you realize that systolic and diastolic pulses are being affected mostly. Yeah.
Okay, and so that means that of course you've talked about the belly, and I know these are questions so many people will ask. How much, how big should a human belly inafaa kutoshanaje binadamu? if you have to explain that.
Okay, thank you very much. There are approaches where nutritionists use their tools for assessment. First, we normally take weight and height. Those are anthropometric measures. In anthropometric measures, they are being divided in different categories. For adults, we normally take weight, height to get the BMI. The BMI is body mass index. For the adults also, we normally use skin fold. Skin fold, there is something like a caliper they place on your skin to show the folding, the amount of body fats deposited on the waist hip ratio or waist circumference. We use a tape measure to take round circumference for your belly to know the normal margin that ranges. We have the normal ranges for waist hip ratio for the adults, like a determiner for those who are having excess body fats or excess deposition of cholesterol in the body. Yeah.
And of course now cutting across both conditions, you've talked about eating and nutrition as the main determinant of how these conditions will behave in your body. Let's talk about some of the misconceptions that people have about nutrition and diabetes and also cardiovascular diseases. What are some of these misconceptions that you receive while you are attending to your patients?
True, there are misconceptions that are there that normally affects because people fail to understand the lifestyle and misconceptions. Some people say that having diabetes, it is like being witched, or maybe somebody somebody has a negative intention about you. Some say that it comes
Alikuangalia vibaya.
yeah. That is macho mbaya. But if we come to factoring it out, whereby we use a clinical method, we take the samples, we take them to lab to get the best measures. That is the best way.
Okay,
But
I'm told that we're actually having a technical hitch, so maybe you have to take a break, then come back.
Karibu Tophill Hospital, a brain and spine specialty hospital dedicated to providing extraordinary care through competent doctors and other medical personnel from premium institutes with knowledge on the latest and exceptional medical technologies. With a capacity of over 70 operational ward beds, over 30 specialists and consulting doctors, Tophill Hospital is a modern level 5 facility equipped with 12 state-of-the-art ICU HDU beds and 2 modern HEPA-filtered theaters with laminar airflow. Our aim is to provide comprehensive quality services at an affordable cost to the community, which includes but not limited to neurosurgery, radiology and diagnostics, MRI, CT scan, X-ray, ultrasound, endoscopy, ECG, EEG, pediatric cardiology, physiotherapy, orthopedics and trauma, pharmacy, laboratory, theater, ICU and HDU, obstetrics and gynecology, general surgery, maternity, psychology, psychiatry, comprehensive wellness checkup, dialysis and urology, oncology, dental care, ENT surgery, nutrition and dietetics. For ease of movement and transfer of patients, the hospital has 2 modern critical care ambulances equipped with ICU facilities and available 24 hours. Tophill Hospital is located in a serene environment away from noise and has a cafeteria with fresh, nutritious foods, not forgetting ample parking for all clients. Tophill Hospital is NHIF accredited and accepts medical covers from a number of insurance companies. If you're looking for the best customer care and patient experience and to be attended.
Okay, welcome back, and we apologize for that technical hitch. Of course, with us this morning is Antony Osinda from Tophill Hospital. If you just joined us, this is the Morning Glory Show, the healthy, wealthy, wise edition of the Morning Glory Show. And Osinda, you are explaining something about the misconceptions that you receive at a clinical level when you're advising patients who have either nutrition or hypertension or other cardiovascular diseases.
it is very true. The myths are there. Because when you look on nutrition, especially for those who are under 5, there is a lot of misconception. There are malnutrition cases. And when we come across malnutrition cases, for especially nutritionists who are based on community-based organization, those are the experience that they come across. You realize that there are some signs of malnutrition whereby you see there is the hair of the baby has turned curled. You can see some parts of the body bones are protruded outside. You can see at times belly is exposed. At times you can see the baby is wasted, the muscles are toned. Those are the signs. But you realize that in a community setup, they might say that those are rituals. They don't believe in nutrition. But when you come in real details to factor out the cause, you realize that that is malnutrition cases. Same to diabetes. Because diabetes, you realize at times sugar levels changes. At times it goes higher, that is hyperglycemia. At times you get sugars lower below the normal margin, that is hypoglycemia. And there are some signs that you can see that are observable, and others you can see that can affect somebody inwardly. Some signs that are observable, you can realize that a diabetic person may develop something known as dysphagia. This dysphagia is excessive or thirsty throughout. Also, they can develop something known as polyuria. Polyuria is excessive urination at night. You realize that at times, between a span of 5 hours, somebody might go for a short call to pee like 3-4 times in 5 hours, but a normal person can go for a short call maybe once in 12 hours or twice. Also, there are other observable signs that you can see for a diabetic person. At times they can develop something that is not obvious. Sometimes they are easily irritated. At times you can see a diabetic person, maybe he might need some other things that are not obvious, taking water throughout, that frequent urination. At times you can through observable, there is not good sight, something like a blur vision. Yeah.
And of course, you've mentioned something that I've been waiting to ask you, the issue of diabetes and somebody being easily irritated. What is the relationship?
At times, when sugar levels are elevated beyond the normal margins that are being there are standards that the national guidelines has given us, there are abnormal functions that take part inside the body, because from the diet that we take, it assists our body to perform other functions, because from our body there are things that we need mostly from outside, and those are known as essential amino acids and non-essential amino acids. The essential amino acids, we acquire them from foods that we eat, but non-essential amino acids are the ones that our body generates inside. Like from essential, we have something known as glutathione. This glutathione assists the cell that is inside the body to perform the duty. Like you realize that inside the body, the cells, when the cell fail to perform its duty, it will affect a tissue. And when a tissue is being affected, a tissue will affect an organ. And we know that an organ, it is made up of a cell and a tissue. Drawing you back, as you mentioned earlier about the sugars and being irritated, also we have something known as tryptophan. Tryptophan is it's an essential also that we get it from fruits, whereby whenever you ingest foods, the hormonal that are inside the body, it enables the muscles function. Sometimes you can smile, sometimes you can shrink your face, and also that one exposes and reveals maybe the feeling of somebody. And as you mentioned earlier also, when the sugars levels go beyond the normal margin, you realize that the cells and the tissues are not working. Definitely the outward signs is going to be affected. Yeah.
So it is what is happening inside that is being seen outside.
Definitely it affects the emotional and causes someone to be irritable.
Oh, so tukiona mtu amekasirika, we shouldn't actually blame them.
Yeah, you don't have to blame them. Sometimes someone might be suffering inside and he's not exploring it outside, maybe by sharing to somebody, and you realize that he might affect the environment on where he is.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And now there is fad dieting, or rather the ways people tend to take usikianga ile routine ya fulani. I think almost everyone has a routine to lose weight and all that. Tell us the risks of that and how well then we should manage our weight. First of all, what is the risk of fad dieting?
Okay, as you have mentioned, fads diets are the foods that don't have nutrients that are essential to our body. In those one, we classify them like junky feeds. Also, at times you realize that pregnant women, they tend to take stones. I don't know how they call them. Those are the mchanga. They feed on them, and you realize that the body system fail, or they lack some things, and the body force them to attract on other things that are not beneficial to their health. You mentioned about weight. Weight is vital, and each and everyone need to focus on weight, because when you fail to focus on weight, you'll either be underweight or overweight, but you need to be normal, that is whereby your body status is normal. You don't have to be beyond or under the margin that has been given. For you to be in a normal state, that is the ideal body weight, basing on your BMI, that is your weight and height, we get the BMI. You need to focus on what you feed mostly. Feeding is wide, but it matters what do you feed most. Yeah.
Of course, there are extreme methods that people use to lose weight. From a professional point of view, talk to us about that.
Thank you. Weight management, weight reduction, weight increase. You realize that those who are having lean body weight, they tend to, or they will want to increase weight, and those who are having excess weight, they will be enhanced to reduce weight. And those who are in normal state, some might say that I want to reduce a little or to increase a little. But the best thing for you to do is to watch out on what you do or what you eat. For you to increase weight, you have to take high caloric diets. High caloric diets are those foods that are fine, easily accessible, easily to cook. Most you can find them, they are packed, canned, but the problem is whenever they are packed or canned, they are being canned with other preservatives like sodium carbonate, and you realize that, like a person who is exposed to diabetes is supposed to be very keen on what he ingests. Like food that contains sodium, it really affects the level of fluids in the body, or also affect the electrolyte imbalance in the body. For those ones who are interested on reducing weight, you have to focus also on fiber diets. Also, for a diabetic person, it is suitable for them to use high fiber diets, because at times you realize that patients who are diabetics, they normally request for weight reduction, because most, that is a type 2 diabetes, the proneness or their body's acceptability to diabetes is very high, whereby you realize that the intrinsic functions of the pancreas, and we know that pancreas is the main production of insulin, and insulin is the one that normally regulates the blood sugar. When it is being affected, definitely you'll be forced to use some injection, that is insulin injection. And when you take a good diet or a modified diet, you realize that even if you're a diabetic person, some of the drugs will be reduced, and even the levels of the injections per hour will be reduced, because for those who are diabetes who are normally using the injectables, at times you realize when they focus on their diet, definitely the dosage on whereby they are being prescribed by the doctor, it tends to reduce time by time compared to those one who are not following their meal pattern.
So that means that actually that is where we say food is a part of the medicine when you suffer from these particular conditions. With us this morning is Antony Osinda. Is a nutritionist from Tophill Hospital, helping us to just understand the link between diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and nutrition. And Osinda, I would still come back. It's a question that is so close to the one that I've asked you. Now there are these kuna hizi, I think kila mtu ako na routine yake. You hear somebody going online and say, if you want to lose weight, you need to do this, you need to start for this time, you need to, are there ways that people use to lose weight, but at the end of it all may end up maybe causing other problems? Because some of them, you hear somebody telling you maybe you need to start for 12 hours, then do you take spinach, do you advise and advocate for that, or what would be your opinion of that?
Thanks so much. There are several methods on weight reduction. Like the current world that you are living in today, there are bariatric. There are normally methods. The other methods are known as bariatric. This bariatric, you realize that some portion of your stomach is being reduced to reduce the metabolic action. And that is the one way. But you realize that using that bariatric, it is not bad, but it depends with your socioeconomic standard. It is expensive, whereby you'll have to use a lot of money for you to go for the surgery. And also don't forget that after going for surgery, other people tend to develop other complications that were not there. So for us, we normally advocate mostly to focus on diet, whereby you manage your diet, you reduce sugar levels, you reduce carbohydrates, you modify, whereby you use local, available, and natural foods that are the best for us to reduce weight. Not only that one, but also you can factor in physical activity. It's the best way, because when you intend to use physical activity, it will assist you to break down the cholesterol. Because the intrinsic factors inside the body, we have the liver, and the liver assists breaking down of fats. That is emulsification. That is a process known as emulsification, whereby the liver tries to regulate the level of fats in the body. But when you decide to do physical activity, one, it will help you to have good intrinsic functions inside the body by sweating, by making muscles to be active, and also to burn excess fats in the body.
Okay, now let's talk about the social bit of it. There's somebody who is diabetic, or maybe they have a cardiovascular disease. How do they still manage to control the condition and still enjoy life with friends? Because you wouldn't want a situation whereby I'm always the person who would say, I'm not eating this, I'm not eating that. How do I control that?
Thanks so much. You realize that diabetes and cardiovascular go hand in hand. For a diabetic person, first to be confirmed to be diabetic, first you realize that there is obesity, one factor. A part of obesity, you realize maybe there is hereditary from the family members. Also another one is age, like a factor, because you realize that the more you grow old, the more the body fail to function normally as it has been functioning previously, maybe when the age was not that, maybe when you were young. And when you mention diabetes and cardiovascular all go hand in hand, because a person who is diabetic type 2, that is diabetes mellitus, they tend to have the body size tend to be large compared to diabetic type 1. And for a cardiovascular patient, you realize that there are some malfunction of the organ, that is the heart and the blood vessels. When I mention the heart and blood vessels, I also mention about the blood, because inside the heart there is blood, and you have to focus on things that help the good function of your heart, because when there is low level of blood, that is anemia, you realize that the heart function is going to be affected, and that is one part of cardiovascular, whereby you realize the normal function of heart will be not functioning as normal, whereby you realize that it will also affect the pressure, because the pressure normally regulates whereby there is good systolic and diastolic of the heart. When the heart fails to function by beating the normal beating, that is 72 pulses, when it goes beyond, or when it goes lower than that, definitely it affects the entire system.
Are there any emerging trends or research towards how nutrition can be used to manage the two conditions?
Yes. As per now, there is another kind of food that it is sprouting, that is yellow maize. Yellow maize, for those who are diabetic, it has been showing a tremendous signs by regulating the level of blood sugars. I have been using the yellow maize. In our supermarkets, we have them. They are known as ugali, afia ugali. And when you check on that afia ugali, the color of that maize is yellow. Like previously, we have been advocating on sorghum, that is mtama, to mix with maize because of the fiber content. But we have realized that yellow maize, that is, it is suitable for diabetics. It regulates the blood sugars. It prevents hyperglycemia for diabetic patients. It has been working, as I've been using for our patients at Tophill Hospital. It has been showing a good. It has been giving us a good feedback, and it has been reducing high blood sugars for a diabetic patient.
And let's talk about taste now that you've recommended it. Does it taste any different from the normal maize?
For the taste, normally it has different taste. As I can say, people do have different tastes. At times, on the taste buds, along your tongues, some people might have metallic taste, whereby when they taste that ugali, they say, no, this ugali is not sweet. But for me personally, that ugali is sweet.
It's okay.
And it has a good fiber content that regulates the blood sugars for a diabetic patients.
Okay, thank you so much for that. That is, of course, that Antony. If you just joined us, we're talking about the link between nutrition, diabetes, and cardiovascular diseases. We're talking with, he's a nutritionist rather, from Tophill Hospital. Tophill Hospital is situated in Elgon View. Just adjacent to Boma Inn. So anytime you need medical attention, then you consider walking into Tophill Hospital. More especially that now it is a specialty for brain and spine, but also all the other clinical services are available. If you're looking for a good environment for healing, that is the place to be. Remember that we can get patients not only from the region, but also across the borders. We get patients as far as Uganda and all the other neighboring countries. And so if you're looking for a level 5 hospital that will attend to your patient or yourself, then consider also Tophill Hospital as one of those hospitals that will give you quality care. Their mantra is always exceptional technology, extraordinary care. And as we move towards the end of this particular conversation, of course, I had promised to give you a chance to now give us a model plan for people who could be suffering from either of the diseases in terms of what they should eat in the morning and some of the foods they should put there, what they should eat in the afternoon and any other time.
Thank you very much. For a diabetic person, first, you have to avoid hunger. Because whenever you experience hunger, sugar levels will go low. And when I say low, it will go below 4. And when sugar goes below 4, the body is at risk. You might get other complications that might affect your life, and also it can cause to mortality. For a diabetic person, you have to feed frequently. And when I say frequently, you have to ensure that whenever you are, there is food. You can walk with your food, maybe in form of snack or any other food that you can take for you to avoid hunger. For a diabetic person, you have to watch out food that are containing sugar levels. You have to omit from your diet. Diabetic earlier, it was being classified like not like a normal disease, because for a diabetic person, you are being told, don't eat this, don't eat this. But if you fail to eat some of the diet, you realize that the body might need micronutrients or macronutrients. When you fail to take those things, then you realize that your body might lack some other components that are vital. For a diabetic person, you have to monitor your sugar throughout. First, you have to take your blood sugar in the morning, that is fasting blood sugar in the morning before you take anything. Also, you have to take random blood sugar. Random blood sugar is taken anytime after meals. For those who are using insulin, it is being advisable you have to inject yourself 30 minutes after meals. For a diabetic meal, first we have to consider your nutritional status. Nutritional status, we use the standard scale. Standard scales we classify using the BMI. If your BMI is normal, we'll use the normal feeding, but we'll consider the fiber content to be high. For a diabetic person, or those who are diabetic outside there, you have to factor in by avoiding foods that are having high calories. You can shift to traditional method. By traditional method, you have to take things like cassava, or you can use cereals and pulses. Cereals and pulses you can use either beans, either soya, either lentils, either green grams, or at times you can use bread, that is a wholemeal bread. For the diabetic, they tend to fail somewhere because they normally take brown bread, but in our supermarkets we have wholemeal bread. The wholemeal bread, you realize that it has bran. The bran is the outer part of the wheat that has fiber. Also, you can take githeri. And
so, of course, let's just clarify the issue about the bread. The right bread that the diabetic should be taking is which one?
Mm-hmm. The right bread for a diabetic is not only brown, but wholemeal. When I mention about wholemeal, I factor in the brown bread that contain the parts of a wheat, that is the cover, the tester, it is known as the bran. You realize also it is heavy when you try to measure the weight of it because it has high fiber. That is the best.
Sorry for interrupting. Now you can go on.
Yes. For a diabetic also, you have to factor in on high fiber. And when I mention high fiber, we have githeri. I mentioned it earlier. But githeri, there are different types of githeri. There is githeri with fresh maize, and there is githeri with maize that it had been stored in the granary. And the one that it has been stored in the granary, it is good for a diabetic person because the level of sugar content on it is very low. And it is mostly advised for a diabetic person to take githeri that is prepared with ile mahindi yenye imekomaa, inasemekana kwa lugha ya Kiswahili, the one that it has been stored in the granary enough that it has low sugar level and low glucose. Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of now planning the day and all that, can you give us a template at the moment? Are you in a position to?
Yes. As I was trying to elaborate it, for breakfast, you can avoid these things that are highly processed, like cakes, like bread, like foods that are very fine. But you can take those traditional, as I mentioned earlier, like nduma. You can take githeri, those plants that are cereals, there are grains. You can take it like accompaniment for breakfast. As we know that for a diabetic person also, the tea they normally use, it has no sugar completely. So the reason as to why it has no sugar is because whenever they take tea with sugars, it causes hyperglycemia, and hyperglycemia is the elevation of sugar level in blood, and that is good for breakfast. And mid-morning, that is a menu. In mid-morning, you'll have to take a fruit. And I said earlier, for a diabetic person, you have to factor in on what you take. If it is a fruit, you don't have to take the whole fraction of fruit. Fruit, it has been divided. We have large, we have medium, we have small. If it is medium, you divided it into 4 portions, whereby you take a quarter of it. May it be oranges, you can take. May it be bananas, you can take. May it be any fruit with sugar, you can take it. But we are doing management. Management is whereby you do what? You factor in by taking the right portion that cannot affect your sugar levels. Also, lunchtime, you can take in any type of food basing on sugar levels. Anything you can take can be in form of carbohydrates, can be in form of proteins, can be in form of vitamins, by taking fraction on it to make it a balanced diet. You can take fish, which we normally advocate because it has good fats, or oil because they are known as monosaturated, that are not affecting our body, that can affect us to have other cardiovascular infections. Those are white meat. You can take brown ugali, you can take yams, you can take brown rice, you can take that ugali with the yellow maize, afya ugali, good for you. And you can do all the same for supper and mid-afternoon snacks.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Of course, that has been Antony Osinda from Tophill Hospital. And Antony, as we end, I would just want to give you a chance to give your closing remarks.
Finally, as we can close, diabetes is a silent killing disease. Cardiovascular is a silent killing disease. Tophill Hospital, we have specialist practitioners, we have specialists for cardiovascular, we have specialists for surgeries, we have specialists for other complications, and also nutritionist is there. You can make an appointment, make a visit, share with us, visit our facility, not only for a diabetic, but also for those who are having other complications like deformations with the spine, brain, tumors, any other complication. Make a visit to Tophill Hospital and we'll offer you an exceptional technology that we offer also extraordinary care.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. And also thank you so much to Tophill Hospital for always making sure that they improve on our health know-how. Now, being a mental health month, I promise to always remind you that there is no shame in seeking for help. There is no shame in looking for a counselor. There is no shame in sharing. There is no shame in accepting that you are not okay. So I take this opportunity to just ask anyone out there that, first of all, let's be part of the solution. Let's reduce the stigma that is associated with mental health disorders, or just mental health generally. So if you feel that you are not okay, if you feel that you are losing it, seek help. Seek help. Now with that, this has been the Morning Glory Show. My name is MC Kalia, and until tomorrow, let's meet on the social square.